What is up, everyone? Brandon Tyrell here with IGN. I'm joined by Miss Chloe Red.
Hey everyone.
So we are doing some
Uh,
Bloodborne today.
Co-op Chalice Dungeon
Yes,
specifically.
we're playing some Bloodborne right now. We're still doing our review in progress. Look for the final score on that a little bit later this week. But today, we spent a good chunk of the day. You spent a good chunk of the day helping me out with, jumping into different scenarios with
Yeah, we
co-op
were kind of
and
experimenting with the system.
yeah, and trying to get into some Chalice dungeons as well, which is what you're looking at right
Yeah.
now.
Took us quite a while to
It's
get this set up.
it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, is it? So basically, a quick rundown of how co-op works in Bloodborne. As soon as you start the game, you die and you go back to the Hunter's Dream. You find a Beckoning Bell at the Hunter's Dream, and what the Beckoning Bell does is it lets you ring it in your area and beckon another player to come and assist you. But players will only come to assist you if they have purchased the small resonating bell
Right.
from the
From the
insight
store.
vendor at the Hunter's Dream, which activates, I believe, at 10 insight. So basically, you can't really get fully set up for co-op and PvP until you have 10 insight, which is what that little eyeball is at the top right of your screen.
And on top of that, if you want to do the Chalice Dungeons, you need to defeat the Bloodstarved Beast.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other step,
Yeah.
right? So, but for co-op, one player rings the beckoning bell, and
Right.
he beckons other players in his area that are ringing the resonant bell. How PvP works into that is that a player that's ringing something called a sinister bell, a sinister resonant bell, can invade players who are trying to participate in co-op. And from what I understand, it's without warning. When it's sort of player versus player, that sort of invasion thing happening, there's no warning. But I will say there's also points in Bloodborne where it's a PvE area, meaning it's you're not actively searching for other players to fight or to cooperate with. And then there are still NPCs that actually activate that allow other players to
The Bell Woman.
the bell. Yeah, so there's a bell woman that is in some areas, and like you ring the beckoning bell, right? To summon other players, and then the woman shows up in your world.
She'll ring the sinister.
And she
resonant
rings,
bell.
she rings a sinister beckoning bell.
And so she can summon.
She can allow other players to invade. Look at that pro dodge, stabby stab.
Here's me completely failing.
No.
There's a bit of lag there too.
There was. I take no pleasure in your pain. So basically, that's sort of the nuts and the bolts of how cooperative play and PvP work. It's like Dark Souls. It's not super easy to.
Dark Souls was a little bit simpler because it was you just lay down your summon sign, and then you wait. There was a lot of waiting, and for this, we did have to wait a while when you were initially ringing the beckoning bell.
Right.
And then we realized that you couldn't be in like the lantern area.
Yeah,
right?
so you can't be directly next to the lantern. You have to walk
you have to
away
kind
from
of
it.
really move away from move into the Chalice Dungeon at least.
Right.
To actually get that set up.
I'm not sure why that's the case. Maybe it's like a PvP protection thing or something, so you don't get spawn camped, or I'm not sure. But what you're watching right now is us in a Chalice Dungeon. So basically, I created a Chalice Dungeon, which are procedurally generated dungeons. And I invited Chloe here to come give me a hand. And, other than the fact that there's some noticeable lag, and, frame rate takes kind of a bigger hit than it does normally in-game, and there's some noticeable lag, the Chalice Dungeon co-ops, the experience is slightly different from when I played it by myself. Technically speaking, but other than that, like it seemed to work out pretty okay.
It was fun. It in the beginning it was pretty smooth. By the end, I think we were doing layer 2 of the Chalice Dungeon. I was really getting some major stuttering.
See, you'll notice some stutter here on my screen, but I imagine since I'm the host, I imagine it was probably a little more severe for you. I think we're looking for
I mean
the exit.
when we were fighting the pig boss near the end.
Right.
It just completely froze for me, and then the boss was dead all of a sudden.
Yeah. And I will say the other thing that I don't like about, particularly with co-op and Chalice Dungeons, is you and I felt like we were just. I mean, we're a little over leveled for this anyway, so it wasn't too hard of a scenario for us. We breezed through this one pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think the only thing is we get a bit lost.
Yeah. I mean,
things look very similar.
You know,
it's not like
it's all dark and murky.
Yeah, it's not like when you're playing just the regular game. You have a lot of landmarks. You know, you can find your way around.
Yeah. This is all, since it's procedural. It's a lot of the same tiles and such. But I will say that, you know, we were just getting going, and every time you get down another level in these Chalice Dungeons, you technically, this is the boss of the first level. You technically, we beat these guys, and you technically beat the boss, so you get banished out of the world, just like it does in real world PvP.
Right, and so if you guys remember in Dark Souls, right, like if you wanted to summon somebody, you were summoning them for the sole purpose of helping you fight the boss at the end.
Yeah.
And then when you fight the boss, when you beat the boss, or if they die or something, they go back. Same thing here. I guess the only issue with the very early level Chalice Dungeons is they're really easy. So
yeah.
It's like we breeze through it, and then I go back. So like right here, I'm gonna go back.
You get sent
and
out.
then you just have to summon me over again.
Yeah, and that's sort of the frustrating part, is because it does take a while to connect.
Yeah.
Like, I had to go down to the next level and then wait another, what was it, 5 minutes for you to connect in. I will say, though, that Bloodborne added a feature where you can set a password. And so you only interact with players who are also using that same password.
Very, very helpful.
It's super helpful, because otherwise we never would have found each other. So you know, it's a great feature that they added, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to spending more time with the multiplayer, and especially PvP. I haven't been invaded yet. I haven't experimented with the Sinister Resonant Bell yet, but that should be really fun.
Yeah, from what I understood, or from what I saw anyway, invading players, it's just like Dark Souls. A red phantom appears, and you guys throw down. So that's cooperative play, and player versus player in a nutshell. We're still hammering through Bloodborne, and look for our final score later this week, probably Friday. But yeah, for more on Bloodborne and everything else, stay tuned to IGN.